Ray. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Hi, this is Greg Kuhn. I'm reading from my popular book, Why Quantum Physicists Create More Abundance. This is Chapter 5, Putting the Science of the Law of Attraction into Action. This book has only touched on the findings from the second scientific revolution culled from quantum physics, but I'm quite confident you've learned enough to keep you busy for quite some time. However, there is still so much more to be discovered. In fact, there are some puzzles so strange and unexplainable that physicists sometimes deal with them by simply ignoring them for the moment. Case in point. In 1997, experiments by physicists from the University of Geneva intended to prove Wolfgang Pauli's 1925 exclusion principle. The exclusion principle says that certain pairs of subatomic particles, even separated by great distances, can instantly know what the other is doing. In the 1997 experiment, physicists sent photons 7 miles apart in opposite directions, yet found that when one photon was jostled, it produced an instantaneous and identical reaction in the other photon, even though it was 7 miles away. It's as if you put a beach ball in Cleveland and another in Warsaw, and when you spun the ball in Cleveland, the ball in Warsaw spun in exactly the same direction at exactly the same speed the instant you did it. We call this entanglement, and only recently have physicists begun to produce further results from studying it. For years, scientists chose to ignore the University of Geneva's experiment because it invalidated Einstein's theory of general relativity, which states that nothing can move faster than light. The University of Geneva proved that information can move faster than light. Information can move instantaneously. There are many conceptual leaps for us to make from quantum physics, and so much information that sounds crazy or at least totally contrary to anything we know. Perhaps the most difficult conceptual leap for us will be letting go of seeing things as either or. Having been raised with classical physics as our paradigm, we are used to a complementary model. Things are either this or that, male or female, hot or cold, large or small, wave or particle, etc. We are comfortable with this notion and can even readily accept that these two polar opposites complement each other. But as you now know, quantum physics asks us to embrace a universe where things aren't this or that. We now have a universe where things are both this and that. All material things at their essence spring forth from a field of unlimited possibility, the quantum field. And it is actually our expectation of what we observe that brings about any concrete materialization. Without our observation and our expectations, matter doesn't materialize. Maybe it will be most difficult for us to embrace the notion that things are not really a sum of their parts as we've always thought. The universe really isn't like a clock, with inner mechanisms working together with the expressed purpose of forming a larger object. The universe and everything in it is actually a system of parts working in complete cooperation for unknown reasons, and each part has individual identities just as important as the larger object they're helping to create. Your body, for example, is not a machine. Your hypothalamus produces unique amino acids associated with the emotions you experience, which are ingested by your cells. Your cells actually become addicted to the amino acids to which they are most often exposed and begin to tell your hypothalamus to produce them. Since your hypothalamus cannot produce the amino acids your cells are asking for without experiencing the emotion associated with them, it, in turn, tells you to experience the emotions necessary to produce the acid. On a daily basis, you are experiencing emotions for the sole reason that your cells are asking for the amino acids your brain produces when you feel those emotions. It turns out that your immune system also produces these amino acids, which suggests that your immune system operates independently from the consciousness of you or your brain. According to preliminary research, your immune system may very well have its own consciousness. I also believe letting go of the notion of the distinct and separate observer will be a difficult one for our culture. The idea that your observations and expectations being part of the data involved in your evaluation is a challenge to accept in our current paradigm. As a professional educator, I am familiar with hearing the kids in my classroom are behaving well or terribly, as if the teacher is separate from what she is observing. Yet in fact, we now know that a teacher's expectations are just as responsible, if not more so, than any classroom management techniques she uses and the students' responses to it. The fact that your expectations, the vibrations of energy you create through your thoughts and feelings, directly influence and or create what you see gives you tremendous power. And as Spider-Man once said, with great power comes great responsibility. And accepting that responsibility is something you're probably not used to in our current paradigm of detached observation. The changes we see as the second scientific revolution is assimilated into our everyday lives will be wonderful for us in the long run. These changes will more accurately reflect the way the world really functions. The more you can embrace the new information, the more you will see your personal life changing for the better, and the less uncomfortable you will be with these new paradigms that will someday be old hat for your children and grandchildren. Because of this information, our understandings of everything from how the human body works to how to govern a nation are already undergoing radical changes. But you can rest assured that although these changes will be unfamiliar and perhaps uncomfortable at first, they will ultimately make you and our society much more powerful influencers of our material reality. The good news is, these changes will bring the way our universe really functions into better understanding. Remember, at one time, people felt very comfortable believing that the world was flat. But as uncomfortable as the new knowledge of a round Earth made people, weren't they better off knowing the truth? And aren't you also better off knowing the truth? I have a friend with a drug problem who got help from a 12-step group. She told me that accepting her powerlessness over her addiction was a Herculean task at first. It wasn't until her sponsor explained that she wasn't really surrendering control over her addiction that my friend was able to change her personal paradigm from a hopeless addict to a recovering addict. It all changed for my friend when she learned that she wasn't actually surrendering control over her addiction. She was surrendering the illusion that she had control over her addiction, because she never had control over it to begin with. And that's the way that paradigm changes from quantum physics will come about. Yes, there is a certain comfort and familiarity in the belief that life happens to us and that we have no control over reality. To believe that people, places, and things are the way they are, and I have no control over them, makes perfect sense to us. Yet, just like my friend's experience, quantum physics is teaching us that we do have power over the people, places, and things in our lives. Our observations and expectations are what create them. And using that power, the law of attraction, doesn't actually require you to do anything radically different, because you've always had that power to begin with. Now you can begin to use your power deliberately. You can learn to shape your reality like a potter molds clay on a clay wheel. First, you can start thinking differently, and then you will see changes in your everyday experiences. It's been said that the truth shall set you free. Of course, it's also been said that first it will piss you off. So don't be overly concerned by your initial reaction to reject this information, to poo-poo it as nonsense. I've been there too. Once you can get past your resistance, you'll experience a whole new world of possibilities that will emerge from this second scientific revolution. An important word of caution. The concepts introduced here are very real, and they work because they are universal law. However, do not make the mistake I did and think that mere positive thinking and positive affirmations give you carte blanche to take any action and make it successful just because you desire it to be so. As I wrote earlier, your underlying beliefs about things are much stronger than any positive thinking you perform, and those beliefs will ultimately continue to manifest themselves despite any veneer of positive thoughts. To play alchemist with the world, which is your birthright, you must first change your beliefs. You desire more money, a loving relationship, a great job, a wonderful home, a fancy car, etc., right? Invest your time in changing your beliefs, and you'll find yourself attracting those very things. In accordance with quantum physics, once your beliefs are aligned with your desires, you cannot fail to attract those things. And that is exactly how the law of attraction can work for you. If you're interested in learning more, please feel free to visit my website, which is located at www.whyquantumphysicists.com. You'll find a wealth of information and be able to explore these concepts in even greater detail. Of course, my books, all of them available on Amazon.com, are also wonderful entrees into the world of deliberate creation and quantum physics. Thanks for listening.